That's right, I'm back home. You're so oily. Where's Dad?
Hey guys, welcome back to Anime Sensei Reaction. Last episode, Mao Mao found herself investigating another strange incident inside the rear palace, and once again she proved why Jin Shi keeps trusting her judgment. We saw how even small misunderstandings can become dangerous inside the imperial court, especially when servants begin spreading rumors without knowing the full truth. Mao Mao's calm personality really stands out because while everyone around her panics, she keeps focusing on evidence and logic. We also got more moments showing Jin Shi teasing Mao Mao constantly, but it's becoming obvious he genuinely respects her intelligence. Another thing I'm loving is how this anime slowly reveals more layers of palace life, from political rivalries to hidden personal grudges. Going into episode 8, I'm expecting Mao Mao to get dragged into yet another dangerous case, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if someone inside the palace starts becoming suspicious of how capable she really is. Let's continue.
Must be out. He's getting up there in the years. He really ought to stop working in the field. But there's no denying he loves making medicines out of the herbs he's grown himself. Oh well. Don't break it. I take it you're a servant at a different brothel then? My dad is— Hey!
Big sis, look! I got the apothecary!
Please hurry! That smell.
What should we do? I made them throw up already, but...
Right. This man isn't breathing, and hers is labored. We'll need to see if there's any vomit left in their throats. You check her.
All right.
No pulse. Nothing stopping air. Just saliva.
Bring them some water.
We can't give them any. Charcoal. And make it quick.
Yes.
This wasn't how I thought I'd be spending my morning. Man, do I need a bath?
Thank you, apothecary. They're both in stable condition now.
No.
Mao Mao's memories of home never carried the elegance or luxury that surrounded life inside the imperial palace. When her thoughts drifted backward, they always returned to the small house she shared with her father, a place filled with the earthy scent of drying herbs and the constant rustle of medicinal plants swaying in the garden outside. Her father devoted nearly every waking hour to his craft. Even as the years weighed heavier on his body, he still bent over rows of herbs beneath the sun, tending each leaf with stubborn patience. His hands had become rough and cracked from decades of labor, yet whenever he touched a plant or prepared medicine, there was still remarkable precision in every movement. Mao Mao often watched him quietly, unable to ignore how age had begun to slow him down. She wished he would finally rest, wished he would stop forcing himself to endure endless physical work, but she also knew such a request would be meaningless. Medicine was not merely his profession. It was the shape of his entire existence. For a brief moment, the day seemed ordinary. The peaceful rhythm of their home carried on as usual, untouched by the chaos of the outside world. Then everything changed in an instant. A young apprentice courtesan suddenly burst into the house without warning. Her breathing was uneven, her face pale with panic, and before Mao Mao could even ask what had happened, the girl seized her arm and demanded that she come immediately. There was desperation in her voice, but underneath it lingered something stranger, something guarded and unnatural. She avoided explaining too much, speaking only in fragments while pulling Mao Mao through crowded streets at almost a running pace. The farther they traveled, the clearer it became where they were headed. The red light district. Soon they entered one of the mid-ranking brothels hidden among the narrow streets overflowing with smoke, perfume, and drunken laughter. Yet inside this particular building, there was no music, no lively chatter. The atmosphere felt suffocatingly tense. Fear hung in the air so heavily that even the servants appeared frozen. On the floor of one room lay a man and a courtesan, both motionless. Their skin had lost color. Their breathing came in weak, uneven tremors. At first glance, they already looked like corpses abandoned in the aftermath of some private tragedy. Ma Mao did not hesitate. The moment she saw their condition,
Leave that alone.
It needs washing, though.
There could still be poison in it.
Poison? I'll go and prepare some tea.
The two victims that collapsed were a courtesan and her customer. The room was filled with the scent of alcohol and tobacco. There were 2 bottles when I got here. A broken glass cup. What's this? A wheat stalk. A pipe. And some tobacco leaves. They really went out of their way to cause a fuss.
Charcoal, like you asked.
Good. Get me a plate to write on. You should be able to find my dad out in the fields. He'll be near the southern wall. Go and bring him here.
I understand.
Took your time, huh, Dad?
This kind young lady was worried about my leg.
I crushed up the charcoal.
Good. Mix it with the herbs and give it to them immediately.
Please drink this. What about him? He's safe. He's had some too.
In terms of treatment, you did a fair job.
Please, enough praise. When it comes to Dad, he's able to deduce 2 or 3 facts from a single piece of information.
What kind of poison do you suspect this was?
I'm up. My father likes to quiz me in order to teach me something new. Tobacco's deadly when eaten. The ideal tool for committing a lover's suicide.
You didn't have them drink any water, did you?
It would only worsen the effect.
Correct. Gastric juices can prevent absorption of poison in case, so diluting it would...
instinct took over. Another courtesan was already attempting to revive them, and Ma Mao immediately joined her. Together they forced air into their lungs again and again, refusing to let either of them slip into death so easily. Sweat gathered across her forehead as the room filled with frantic movement and anxious voices. Every second dragged endlessly, but eventually the victims responded. Barely. They survived. Only after the immediate danger passed did Ma Mao finally allow herself to study the room properly. Something about the scene felt wrong. The odor hit her first. Thick tobacco smoke mixed with the harsh sting of alcohol, creating an unpleasant heaviness that clung to the walls. Her sharp eyes moved carefully across every object scattered around the room. Tobacco leaves had been spilled carelessly across the floor. A smoking pipe rested nearby. 2 alcohol bottles stood near the bedding alongside a shattered drinking glass. There were also several thin straw tubes lying off to the side, items she didn't immediately recognize but instinctively stored away in her memory. Her thoughts aligned quickly. Poison. This had not been an accident. Both victims displayed symptoms too similar, too sudden. Whatever they consumed had nearly killed them within moments. Without wasting time, Ma Mao instructed the apprentice courtesan to fetch her father immediately. If poison was involved, his experience could prove essential. Yet the girl's reaction once again struck Ma Mao as strange. There was hesitation hidden behind her obedience, a subtle pause that didn't match the urgency of the situation. Even so, she eventually left. Time passed slowly after that. The tension in the room refused to fade, and by the time Mao Mao's father finally arrived, the delay had become impossible to ignore. Still, the old apothecary wasted no time. The moment he stepped into the room, his tired eyes sharpened with focus. He observed everything with astonishing speed, absorbing details that others overlooked entirely. Ma Mao admired that ability more than anything. Even now, after years of studying under him, She still felt as though she was chasing after knowledge she could barely grasp. Together they examined the victims while discussing the likely cause. Mao Mao initially believed the poison had come from the tobacco.
Be dangerous. But what about if the tobacco had originally been dissolved using a liquid?
I didn't see any leaves in their vomit. Not that I recall. But maybe I'm not fully awake. If the poison was soaked in water, sometimes diluting it further is good. Got it. Lesson learned.
Sorry for the trouble.
Serving us snacks reserved for customers? That's quite generous of her. Now I get it. They prevent lipstick from getting on the cup.
A small token of our gratitude. You really saved us.
That's far too much.
Dad, you sure you won't have any problem paying rent this month?
Thank you.
Who's the parent here, old man? A double suicide. Not exactly a rarity in the Pleasure District. If a man can't afford to buy a courtesan and she still has time left on her term, they often reach the same conclusion. Still, though, the man appeared rather well dressed. And a handsome face. I doubt he's short on money or women. Dad wouldn't approve of me using stereotypes, but... he didn't seem like the kind of person who would take poison out of despair for the future. I should check on them. The man seemed to be in worse condition. What are you doing?
Don't stop me! This man doesn't deserve to live!
What is going on in here?
Nicotine, if concentrated enough, could easily become lethal. It would also explain the heavy smell lingering throughout the room. She had intentionally avoided giving the victims water as well, understanding that improper treatment could sometimes worsen the absorption of toxins inside the stomach. For a moment, her reasoning appeared sound. Then her father calmly asked a single question. What if the poison had already been dissolved into liquid before consumption? The idea immediately disrupted everything. Mao Mao replayed the earlier scene inside her head. The vomit, the bottles, the broken glass. Suddenly one detail struck her with embarrassing clarity. There had been no tobacco leaves in the vomit. Not even traces. Her conclusion had come too quickly. She silently criticized herself for overlooking something so obvious. Perhaps exhaustion had dulled her thinking, or perhaps she had become overconfident in the first theory that seemed logical. Either way, she recognized the mistake instantly. With that realization, her approach shifted. If the poison had been mixed directly into alcohol, then controlled dilution might help reduce its concentration inside the body. Working alongside her father, she focused on stabilizing the victims while completing preparations for treatment. Slowly, their conditions improved enough to move beyond immediate danger. Once the crisis settled, the brothel's madam personally invited Mao Mao and her father to sit down. Tea and sweets were prepared for them with unusual generosity. The atmosphere became strangely polite, almost excessively so, and then came the payment. The amount offered was far larger than expected. Too large. Mao Mao accepted it quietly, but unease settled in her chest. The money did not feel like simple gratitude. It felt like silence being purchased. While the others relaxed, her attention returned to the straw tubes she had seen earlier. Now that she had time to think, she recognized them. Courtesans sometimes used such tools to drink liquids without smudging their carefully applied lipstick. That small detail deepened her suspicion considerably. Double suicides were hardly uncommon in the Pleasure District. Men who fell hopelessly in love with courtesans often discovered too late that freedom required enormous sums of money. Some couples, unable to escape their circumstances,
Apothecary, would you mind if I had a word with you? I'm not exaggerating when I say he's been a difficult customer. The man would sweet-talk a courtesan, insinuating he would buy her out, then dump her when he got bored. He was widely hated. Not only did some woman try stabbing him, he's even been poisoned before. And yet, his rich merchant father continues pampering him. When there's an incident, it's settled with money. But recently, he asked his father to hire men to protect him while at the brothels. This girl's older sister was done by him too. She was so happy at the thought of being able to live with him. The day of the buyout, he went back on his offer. That's why I think she wasn't able to forgive him. You see, the courtesan who drank the poison today was close to her.
So you want me to keep quiet? If he's such a problem, why not simply ban him?
Because it's the courtesan who fell for him.
A client being the victim of a double suicide. It probably wouldn't be good business for the brothel. Those pricey snacks they served us. Guess that was to say thanks for not letting a rich merchant's son die on the premises. Also, the way this played out must have felt unfair to her. You have my silence. It just so happened to be that I was home for a few days. But if the girl often shops with us, she likely knew that my dad would be out. At a time like that, he would call for a doctor, but she went out of her way to find an apothecary. One thing's for sure, that kid's a lot scarier than she looks.
A shame such a terrible event happened during your homecoming.
Hey Dad, let me see that payment.
Chose death together instead. But this situation lacked the desperation usually tied to those tragedies. The man involved did not appear ruined or heartbroken. His clothes were expensive, his posture refined even while unconscious, his hands soft from privilege rather than labor. Nothing about him resembled someone driven toward despair. The story being presented simply did not fit. Determined to investigate further, Ma Mao requested permission to examine the man more closely. His symptoms had appeared worse than the courtesan's, and she wanted to compare their conditions directly. As she stepped toward him, sudden movement exploded from the corner of the room. The apprentice courtesan rushed forward holding a blade. Her target was the man. Ma Mao reacted instantly, throwing herself between them before the knife could strike. The young girl struggled wildly, consumed by rage so intense it almost looked like madness. Tears streamed down her face as she screamed and fought against Mao Mao's grip. Eventually Ma Mao managed to subdue her by striking her hard enough to leave a painful swelling on her head. The noise drew everyone into the room. And with the chaos exposed, the truth slowly began to emerge. One of the courtesans explained the man's reputation. He was infamous throughout the district. Again and again he seduced women with promises of love and freedom, convincing them he would purchase their contracts and rescue them from brothel life forever. But once he grew bored, he abandoned them without hesitation. Many women had ruined themselves believing him. Some drowned in debt. Others lost all hope entirely. A few had even ended their own lives. Yet despite the damage he caused, nobody could touch him. His father was a wealthy merchant powerful enough to bury scandals beneath mountains of silver. Recently the man had even hired bodyguards out of fear that someone might eventually seek revenge. The apprentice courtesan finally revealed why she had tried to kill him. One of his victims had been her older sister. She had believed every promise he whispered to her. She dreamed of freedom, only to be discarded like something worthless the moment he lost interest. Unable to endure the humiliation and heartbreak, she eventually took her own life. The younger sister had never forgiven him. Every word she spoke trembled with grief sharpened into hate.
Yep, it's all here. Including hush money as expected. Something still bothers me though. Judging from what I've heard, the man's pretty clever. Would someone like that be so overcome with emotion they'd agree to a double suicide? Then again, it could have been a forced attempt, but a man who'd been poisoned on a previous occasion wouldn't be so easily fooled.
Mao Mao, you know conjecture shouldn't be spoken aloud.
Huh? You've already figured out what happened, haven't you, Dad? Remember, what was at the scene? What might have I missed? To tobacco's deadly when eaten, the ideal tool for committing a lover's suicide.
What about if the tobacco had originally been dissolved using a...
Because it's the courtesan who fell for him.
This man doesn't deserve to live!
You see, the courtesan who drank the poison today was close to her.
Now I get it. They prevent lipstick from getting on the cup. This wasn't a double suicide. It was attempted murder. Poisoned water, wheat stalks, 2 separate drinks with different colors.
Rest. There's nothing more to be done.
Looks that way. So only one was supposed to die. Also, it's the courtesan who tried killing him. Her weapon of choice? Drinks laced with tobacco poison. Only, the man was cautious enough to have guards posted nearby. So how did she convince him to drink it? The answer's simple. She took a sip as well. If the courtesan wasn't affected, the man would consider it safe. But she couldn't actually drink the poison and risk death. So she used a trick. 2 types of liquor.
Hatred. To her, the idea that this man might survive while her sister remained dead was unbearable. As Ma Mao listened, her discomfort deepened. The brothel's earlier generosity suddenly became understandable. Saving the merchant's son meant avoiding a disastrous scandal. If he died there, the consequences could have ruined the establishment. Naturally, everyone preferred survival over catastrophe. But from the apprentice girl's perspective, the situation must have seemed horrifyingly cruel. The very people who destroyed lives continued living comfortably while the victims vanished into silence. Even so, Ma Mao could not shake the feeling that something remained hidden. The girl's behavior earlier had not felt impulsive. It felt calculated, delaying help, bringing Ma Mao instead of immediately seeking experienced physicians. The timing of everything felt too precise. Later, after returning home, Ma Mao carefully examined the large payment they had received. The silver only intensified her unease. She sat quietly, replaying every detail inside her mind piece by piece. The tobacco scattered across the floor, the broken glass, the bottles of alcohol, the straw tubes. Her father's question echoed again and again in her thoughts like a voice refusing to fade. Then suddenly everything aligned. The answer appeared with terrifying clarity. This had never been a suicide attempt. It had been murder from the beginning. And the courtesan herself, the supposed victim, was the one who orchestrated it. The poison had been hidden inside the alcohol, but the method itself was what impressed and unsettled Ma Mao most. The man was cautious by nature. Someone like him would never willingly consume a suspicious drink. So the courtesan created the illusion that both of them were drinking safely together. Using liquids with different densities that resisted mixing properly, she layered them inside one glass. The harmless liquid settled at the bottom. The poisoned liquid remained near the surface. With the straw, she drank carefully from the lower layer while the man drank normally from the top, unknowingly swallowing the poison concentrated above. It was brilliant. Even the tobacco had a purpose. By scattering it around the room, she created a false trail pointing investigators toward nicotine poisoning.
A single glass. The drinks had varying thicknesses and weights. She poured a heavier one, then a lighter drink over the first, creating a pretty-looking layered concoction. A small parlor trick to impress the client. Then, she used the wheat stalk to drink just the lower layer without arousing any suspicion. Afterwards, she sipped the upper layer. Just a bit, so it wouldn't kill her. She didn't want to end up dead herself. The act was committed in the morning. That way, she would increase the odds of him dying, while greatly improving her chances of survival. And as luck would have it, someone would be there to discover them. She appears fragile, but underneath, she's quite cunning. strangely all day. She didn't want the man to survive. Why else would she seek an apothecary instead of a doctor? Not to mention taking her time bringing my dad. Wasn't she worried about her big sis dying? Didn't it ever cross her mind she was about to lose someone else in a similar way? It's almost like she knew in advance the courtesan would survive. Or am I overthinking things again? Additionally, there's the other courtesan who sympathized with the girl, plus the well-paying madam.
To complete the deception, she consumed a small amount of the poisoned layer herself, just enough to become ill without dying. Every aspect of the crime had been designed meticulously. The timing ensured discovery would happen late enough for the poison to nearly kill him, but early enough to avoid suspicion toward herself. The scene appeared chaotic, emotional, tragic, yet underneath it all existed chilling precision. Mao Mao found herself deeply conflicted. Part of her admired the intelligence required to create such a scheme. Another part felt disturbed by how calmly the courtesan had transformed suffering into calculated violence. The woman must have carried unbearable pain, yet she concealed it beneath elegance and patience until the perfect opportunity arrived. And then there was the apprentice girl. The more Mao Mao thought about her behavior, the more obvious it became that she likely knew the truth. Her delayed response suddenly made perfect sense. She had intentionally slowed the search for help, hoping the poison would finish the job before treatment arrived. Perhaps the entire brothel understood what had happened. Perhaps the madam understood too. The women may have silently chosen to protect one another against a man who had destroyed countless lives without consequence. But Mao Mao forced herself to stop there. Speculation alone meant nothing. Her father had always taught her never to confuse assumptions with proof. No matter how convincing a theory appeared, evidence remained essential. Still, the incident left something lingering inside her thoughts long afterward. The red light district and the imperial palace were not truly different worlds. Both hid cruelty behind beauty. Both trapped people inside invisible cages built from money, power, and obligation. The courtesans painted their faces and smiled while slowly suffocating beneath debt and false promises. The women inside the palace lived among silk and gold, yet many of them were prisoners just the same, bound by status and political games they could never escape. In both places, survival transformed people. Sometimes into victims, sometimes into monsters, sometimes into poison itself. Later, while soaking in the bath at the Verdigris house, Mao Mao tried forcing those thoughts away. Thinking too deeply about human nature rarely led anywhere pleasant.
The more I start questioning the events, the more suspicious they become. Were they all in on it? No point saying it out loud when it's only conjecture. I really miss this pleasure district, but in essence, it's no different from the rear palace. It is both a garden and a cage. Everyone here, they're trapped, being poisoned by the stale air. The more the courtesans become intoxicated by it, the more they become sweet poison themselves. I don't know what fate has in store for her. Maybe she'll be accused of trying to murder the customer. Or perhaps the brothel will claim he was out to ruin their merchandise instead. Well, whatever. You can't survive in this neighborhood dwelling on every little problem that crops up.
Mel Mel?
Hey, Mei Mei.
You're returning to the rear palace?
I still have a year left on my term. I also have a job I can't force on others.
That's such a shame. You just got back. You know, everybody was worried after you disappeared all of a sudden. Heidi and Joka, the old lady too.
That wasn't my impression.
She acted like usual, correct? She can't tell you to your face.
I see.
Oh no, did I make you all sentimental? There.
Let me go, Mei Mei.
Have you been out to the annex?
Not yet.
take care of yourself.
You too, Dad. I'm off.
Especially in places like these. Survival required emotional distance. If she carried every tragedy inside her forever, she would eventually drown beneath them. The warm water helped loosen some of the tension from her body. It was there that she encountered Meimei, one of the Verdigris house's highest-ranking courtesans. Unlike many women in the district who relied heavily on exaggerated charm, Meimei carried herself with calm confidence that felt almost effortless. Her beauty was undeniable, but it was her composure that truly drew attention. Even simple movements appeared graceful around her. She casually mentioned how worried everyone had supposedly been after Mao Mao disappeared. Mao Mao found the claim difficult to believe. Still, Meimei smiled, knowingly, as though amused by Mao Mao's skepticism. For a brief moment, the conversation allowed the weight of earlier events to fade. But peace never lasted long. Soon Mao Mao's temporary visit home came to an end. After saying goodbye to her father, she prepared to return once again to the imperial palace. Li Bai accompanied her during the journey back, and his mood could not have contrasted more sharply with the dark atmosphere of the previous day. He looked absurdly pleased with himself, practically radiating satisfaction. Mao Mao needed only one glance to understand that he had thoroughly enjoyed his time in the pleasure district. His happiness, however, would not survive much longer. The moment Mao Mao returned to the palace, she encountered Jin Shi. And immediately the atmosphere changed. His expression was unreadable, but the coldness in his eyes carried unmistakable irritation. Without wasting time, he summoned her to speak privately. They sat across from one another, tension quietly building between them. Jin Shi's questions came directly. Too directly. He asked about Li Bai. About their relationship. About why the man had accompanied her. Mao Mao answered honestly and simply. Li Bai had acted as her guarantor during her temporary leave. Nothing more. Yet Jin Shi did not appear satisfied. He pressed further, asking whether she understood the implications of such arrangements. His tone grew increasingly sharp the more she responded with indifference. To Mao Mao, his frustration felt irrational. She could not understand why he cared so deeply.
Before I knew it, my 3-day homecoming was over.
How sad you have to leave us so quickly. Tragic, right, Master Lihaku?
I for one wish she could stay in town longer. We have to
Looks
go.
like he had a good time. Once you taste the heavenly dews, there's no going back to reality. Gently but steadily, they'll squeeze all they can from him.
Time we share.
That said, I still have to cover for the amount I couldn't pay up front.
Let me know the next time you're coming home.
She's already got a buyer in mind once my term's up. Come on, what's with that death glare? Better make my escape. I should go get changed.
Later, tell us
Everything.
I shall be waiting for you in the parlor.
You wanted to meet? He seems really upset with me for some reason. Am I overthinking things? Yeah, that's the case. Hopefully. Anyway, why are we alone?
So then, you went home, huh?
Yes,
Good time.
I was just glad everybody was doing well.
I see.
And?
Why don't you tell me more about this Lihaku fellow?
The man was my guarantor. How does he know his name?
Do you have any understanding of what that means?
Yes, it means one must be a high-ranking official with a good record in order to vouch for another.
About matters unrelated to him. But the truth was simpler than she realized. What truly bothered Jin Shi was not Li Bai himself. It was the fact that Mao Mao had shared information with Li Bai that she had never shared with him. Even the ornate hairpin Jin Shi once gifted her, a symbol carrying significant meaning within the palace, seemed less important to her than casual gestures from someone else. To Jin Shi, that indifference stung far more deeply than he expected. To Mao Mao, however, his behavior only appeared increasingly unreasonable. She privately concluded that he simply had too much free time and far too much interest in other people's affairs. Then she casually delivered the final blow without realizing it. While explaining the situation, Mao Mao mentioned that she had repaid Li Bai with a night of pleasure. The effect on Jin Shi was immediate. His entire body froze. The teacup slipped from his hand and shattered loudly against the floor. Silence followed. Complete silence. Jin Shi remained motionless, staring blankly ahead as though his soul had temporarily abandoned his body entirely. Time seemed to stop around him. He neither spoke nor reacted. Even the servants nearby looked too frightened to interrupt the unnatural stillness. Minutes passed, then more minutes. Nearly an hour slipped by with Jin Shi still trapped in silent devastation while Mao Mao sat there increasingly unsure how to respond to such bizarre behavior. Eventually she simply gave up trying to understand him. Quietly excusing herself, she left the room. Outside, waiting nearby, stood Gyokuyu. The high-ranking consort looked thoroughly entertained. In fact, she was barely managing to suppress laughter, making it painfully obvious that she had overheard the entire exchange. The sight of Jin Shi's emotional collapse amused her far more than it probably should have. And just like that, the heavy tension shattered into absurdity. Mao Mao could only stare in mild disbelief at the strange people surrounding her. Whether in the brothels of the red light district or the polished halls of the imperial palace, human beings remained endlessly complicated, irrational creatures driven by pride, longing, resentment, jealousy, and desire. No matter where she went, she always seemed to find herself trapped among them.
I suppose he gave you a hairpin?
He passed out several, so I received one as a consolation prize.
Is that so? In other words, I lost to a consolation prize then. Funny how even though I gave you one, you never considered seeking me out.
Huh? So basically, he's annoyed because I didn't ask for his help instead? Kind of weird, but it's obviously better not to stir the pot and create further drama. Is he that bored he wants attention even if it'll cause problems? I deeply apologize, but it came down to a matter of not being able to think of a repayment you would enjoy.
Back up. Repayment? This Lee Haku person, did you give him something in return?
Yes, I bestowed a night of blissful dreams on him.
A whole night?
Mm-hmm. He seemed quite satisfied with the arrangement. I worked hard, so I'm pleased with myself. You aren't usually this clumsy. Best to clean up before it stains. Beg your pardon. You should get this washed right away. I'll also pick up the broken teacup, so no need to bother helping. Excuse me.
Whoosh.
Next time, suicide or murder?
Alright, everyone, that is for today's reaction on Anime Sensei Reaction. Thank you for so much for watching and spending your time with me. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notification so you won't miss you won't miss the next reaction. Let me know your true favorite moment and break down in the comment because I always love reading what you guys think. We still have a lot of amazing anime moments, crazy battle, emotional scene, and unexpected trip coming soon on the channel. I truly appreciate all the support and I can't wait to watch more anime together with you all. Take care everyone, and I will see you in the next reaction video.